Well, good afternoon everybody, it's Brett here, Lionheart84, and what we're looking at today is my extremely sickly, best described as a stick, Starfruit or carambola. Now, this plant gradually deteriorated over the course of winter inside the house. I mean, it was, as usual, was attacked by red spider mites, but I don't think that was the main cause of the problem. I mean, there's dry atmosphere as well, which they don't like. But I think one of the main problems I've got with this one is, I think, like my guava I had previously, I think it's suffering from root suffocation or possibly root rot. Now, I've made the tough decision. I've made the decision that I'm going to remove it from the pot and take it back to bare root and wash all the roots and downsize it to this size pot in the hope that I can save the plant. Now, to be honest, I've got to say that bare rooting a tropical evergreen fruit tree is not something really that's undertaken lightly. They don't take kindly to being taken back to bare root. It's not like a deciduous tree that's dormant. These plants are never really dormant. But sometimes you've got to take drastic action in the hope that you can save your plants. Now, one of the reasons I think that the compost is possibly waterlogged in the centre, and it might be the original root ball that the plant came in rather than what I used to repot it, is although you can put your hands in, stick your hand down sort of 5 or 6 inches and the compost seems nice and dry, when you pop the moisture meter in, I don't know if you better see on this, let's try it this way so the sun's not shining on it. As soon as you put the moisture meter in, and you can probably see that, and put it down near to the centre of the root ball below the stem, down about 5 or 6 inches, it rockets over to the right hand side, which is wet or saturated. Now, one of the problems with tropicals is they love their roots like a nice open free draining soil, or at least most tropical fruits, so they can breathe and don't suffer from suffocation. One of the big killers of tropical fruit trees in this country, if you've got them in pots and take them inside, is simply overwatering causing root rot. Now, the roots don't always rot. Sometimes they just get suffocated and they can't take up the nutrients and they haven't got access to oxygen anymore. So what I've decided to do is to take this out of this pot and reduce the root ball, and then I can have a good look at the roots and see what the situation is, and rather than just simply down pot it without you just downsize it without doing much except shaking off the loose soil, I've decided that I'm going to wash it in a bucket of warm water. Now, I would say it's important you've got to use warm water. You don't want to put these tropicals into a bucket of icy cold water, because that's going to be the final nail in the coffin. And there's no guarantee that the plant will survive this or recover, but we have, as it's only the middle of June, we have at least got sort of 3 months of summer for it to make a recovery. Now, one thing you've got to know about taking these things back to a bare root and washing all the old soil off is you're not going to see a result in a week's time. You're not going to suddenly see 6-inch growth in 2 weeks, because it will take some weeks for the roots, might take 2 or 3 weeks for the roots to start to recover, and they have to recover first before the plant starts to make top growth. And what will tend to happen is the tops of the plant will continue to die back. Now, you can already see, if you look at this has already got a fair bit of stem. The stems are gradually dying back, and my normal experience is once the shoots are dying, the stems themselves are dying back, and what's happening here, there are some green buds breaking out, and as soon as they break out, they turn brown and dry off, which suggests that the plant's not getting any moisture or nutrients up from the roots. So I'm pretty sure that they're in a bad state. So what you really need to do if you're going to take a plant to bare root is to cut all the stems back because there's no point, they're not going to recover. Once they're dead at the ends, they're dead. Cut the stems back until you get to green, fresh growth, and it also means there's less load on the plants. And then you remove it from the pot and you get all the soil off you can, and then I'm going to wash the roots. Now the soil compost I'm going to put it into next, I've gone to an even freer draining, very light compost. Now this has got, I've put clay, this has got clay granules in it, hydroleaker it's called over here, which is very light, but it allows the roots to get access to a lot of air. I've put a lot of bark in here, orchid compost. There's several bags of orchid compost. There's a lot of perlite. There's some vermiculite. I've put some open, quite acidic soil in here. Nothing in the way of food or fertilisers, because you don't want to burn the roots when they're trying to recover. So this is extremely light. Oh, and what I forgot to say, the other giveaway on this pot is, yeah, it's a big pot, but it weighs an absolute ton. I can barely move it off the floor, and you should be able to lift these quite easily, as long as they're not saturated. If they've just got that nice lightweight free breathing composting, you should be able to move this pot quite easily. And this weighs a ton, so I'm fairly sure that once I tip the plant out, I'm going to find an extremely wet soil for the whole bottom half of the pot and all round the root ball. Now I can't feel myself actually doing the process, unfortunately, because my tripod snapped in half a couple of weeks ago and I haven't got round to getting a new one yet. So what I just thought I'd do was show in detail what I intended to do, and then I'll pause the video and then come back to it when we've got to another stage. So this is a Starfruit carambola, and we're going to have a go at bare rooting it and see if the plant can be saved or not. Okay, so here we've come back, and you can see that plant was in that giant pot, and basically the roots, it's made no root growth at all, and it's been in that pot best part of 2 years. So a complete waste of time having it in a pot that big anyway. But more to the point, there's no root growth. As I suspected, the bottom of the compost the bottom half of the pot was wet. Not horrendously wet, but wet, but of course it's not being used because the roots haven't grown at all. So I'm going to wash these roots off back to and wash all this soil that's left on the bottom of the roots and the centre of the root ball, and start again. Now it may be too late to save the plant, but it's worth having a go. So next thing I'm going to do is wash the roots off, and then we'll actually leave the plant in the warm water for 5 to 10 minutes to hopefully reinvigorate the roots, and it give them a chance to pick up some fresh water, and then we'll see what happens after that. So anyway, I just wanted to show what's happened where we've washed all the roots off now. I mean, as you can see, there's pretty much nothing left on it. Now the good news is the roots haven't turned black and rotted away. There is some lively looking roots in there, but the size of the root ball is ridiculously small for a plant that's probably 4 or 5 years old, so clearly there's been an issue with the compost. So I'm going to put this into a pot in a minute and then trim off the excess branches at the top, and then we'll look at the finished product, the finished result of the potting. So here we are back again with the final result. I've taken off all of the clearly dead growth at the end of the stems and cut it back to green. I could seal the ends of the stems with a pruning sealer, but I don't think it's going to be necessary. So it's a little bit out of focus because it's focusing on what's behind. Now I've gone into a much smaller pot now. I don't suppose this pot's more than a couple of gallons, and even that's almost too big, but I didn't want to go ridiculously small. But that's got the new super light free draining compost in. I have given it a watering with warm water. So that's the finished process of bare rooting a tropical fruit plant, in this case my Starfruit or carambola. It is a desperate last ditch mesh to try and revitalise the plant. You've got to be prepared to lose plants when you bare root tropical fruits, evergreens, because it's just not the sort of thing that they need doing to them. But we thought we'd give it a go anyway, see what happens. And obviously we're on currently the middle of June, and I'll be coming back to this in a month's time to see if I've still got a tree that looks like it's showing signs of life, or if I've got a tree that's completely died by then. Anyway, thank you for anybody who happens to have looked at the video. Much appreciate it. Please like the video, share it with anyone who you think might be interested. Please subscribe to my channel if there's anything I'm doing that interests you, and obviously if you click on the bell, you will be informed about the updates on this and other trees that I'm working on. Catch up with you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Brett out.